The psychology of people who always apologize. Some people apologize before they even know what they did wrong. They say sorry when someone bumps into them. Sorry when they ask a simple question. Sorry when they need help. Sorry when they take too long to reply. Sorry when they speak. Sorry when they exist too loudly in a room. And sometimes they do not even notice they're doing it. The word just comes out automatically. Sorry. Not because they did something terrible. Not because they hurt someone on purpose. Not because they are weak. But because somewhere inside them, apologizing feels safer than being misunderstood. Some people learn very early that peace was easier to keep when they blamed themselves first. If someone was angry, they apologized. If someone was disappointed, they apologized. If someone became quiet, cold, or distant, they apologized. Even when they did not understand what happened. Even when they were only a child. Even when the problem was never theirs to carry. Because when you grow up around unpredictable emotions, your nervous system starts looking for patterns. A raised voice becomes danger. A sharp look becomes warning. A sudden silence becomes punishment. And before the conflict even fully begins, the body tries to stop it. So the apology comes out. Fast, soft, almost automatic. I'm sorry. As if those two words can shrink the anger in the room. As if they can make someone stay. As if they can prevent rejection before it happens. People who over-apologize are not always people who believe they are wrong. Sometimes they are people who are terrified of what might happen if someone thinks they are wrong. There's a difference. One comes from guilt. The other comes from fear. And many people who apologize too much are not living from guilt. They're living from emotional survival. They learned that being agreeable was safer than being honest. They learned that explaining themselves could turn into an argument. They learned that having needs could make them look difficult. They learned that saying no could disappoint someone. So they say sorry instead. Sorry becomes a bridge. Sorry becomes a shield. Sorry becomes a way to make themselves smaller before anyone else has the chance to criticize them. And maybe you know this feeling. You send a message and then immediately think, was that too much? You ask for something small and then feel the need to apologize for asking. You express a feeling, then suddenly feel guilty for having that feeling. You take up space, then try to give it back. You speak your truth, then soften it with, sorry, I'm probably overthinking. But maybe you are not overthinking. Maybe you are remembering. Maybe your body remembers what happened when you were not careful enough. Maybe your body remembers being blamed for things that were not your fault. Maybe you were made responsible for someone else's mood. Maybe when an adult was stressed, you felt like you had to fix it. Maybe when someone was upset, you became the peacemaker. Maybe you learned to read faces before you learned to trust your own feelings. So now, even as an adult, your nervous system still asks the same question. Is everyone okay with me? And if the answer feels uncertain, you apologize. Not because you did something wrong, but because uncertainty feels dangerous. This is why people-pleasing and over-apologizing often live together. Because people-pleasing is not always about wanting everyone to like you. Sometimes it is about wanting everyone to feel calm enough that you can finally relax. You're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to be safe. You're trying to avoid the emotional cost of conflict. The cold tone. The disappointed face. The silent treatment. The feeling that someone's love can suddenly become conditional. So you apologize before the other person can pull away. You apologize before they can misunderstand you. You apologize before they can accuse you. You apologize before they can leave. But the painful part is this. When you apologize for everything, people may start to believe you are responsible for everything. They may let you carry blame that does not belong to you. They may become comfortable with your self-erasure. They may never learn how careful you have been just to keep the relationship peaceful. And slowly, you may begin to lose connection with your own truth. You may stop asking, did I actually do something wrong? And start asking, how do I make them okay again? But healthy relationships are not built on one person constantly shrinking. Healthy love does not require you to apologize for having needs. Healthy friendship does not require you to feel guilty for speaking honestly. Healthy communication does not punish you for being human. There's a kind of apology that repairs, and there's a kind of apology that erases you. A real apology says, I see how my actions affected you. But a fear-based apology says, please do not be upset with me. A real apology comes from accountability. A fear-based apology comes from anxiety. And healing begins when you start learning the difference. You can still be kind without taking responsibility for everything. You can still care about people without managing every emotion in the room. You can still apologize when you truly hurt someone. But you do not have to apologize for needing time, for having an opinion, for setting a boundary, for not replying immediately, for being tired, for being quiet, for changing your mind, for existing. At first, this may feel uncomfortable. Your body may panic when you do not say sorry. You may feel rude, cold, selfish, dangerous. But that does not always mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it only means you're doing something new. A nervous system that learns safety through self-blame will not immediately trust boundaries. It needs practice, gentle practice. Instead of saying, sorry I'm late, you can say, thank you for waiting. Instead of saying, sorry to bother you, you can say, do you have a moment? Instead of saying, sorry, I'm being emotional, you can say, this is important to me. Instead of saying, sorry I said no, you can say, I can't do that today. Small changes, small moments of self-respect, small reminders that you do not have to enter every conversation already guilty. Because maybe the goal is not to stop apologizing completely. Maybe the goal is to apologize only when your apology is honest. Not when you are scared. Not when you're shrinking. Not when you're trying to buy peace with pieces of yourself. You are allowed to take up space without apologizing for the air you breathe. You are allowed to be misunderstood without immediately abandoning yourself. You are allowed to let someone feel disappointed without turning yourself into the villain. And maybe the next time sorry rises in your throat, you can pause, just for 1 second, and ask yourself, did I do something wrong? Or am I afraid someone will be upset with me? That pause is where healing begins. Because you were never meant to live as if your existence is a problem. You were never meant to carry every mood, every silence, every conflict, every uncomfortable feeling. Sometimes the apology you keep giving to others is the one your younger self is still waiting to receive. For being blamed too much, for being scared too often, for learning to survive by becoming small. And maybe today you can begin there, not with another apology to the world, but with a quiet promise to yourself. I will not keep saying sorry for being human.